that watch us don't have one. No, I'm just kidding. No. He is president number 18.
17.
17. No.
Wait, 18.
Johnson is 18.
Okay.
I got you for the first time. If you can tell us the name of this guy, we will tell you. We will send you. How about this? How about the book from yesterday? If you can tell us who is on that $50 bill and who is our 18th president, this is coming right. He was on yesterday, Ben Russell, and this is a great for your kids, grandkids, whatever. But it also teaches you. It plants the seed of teaching you about the truth of creation and all. So this is really cool. Noah Drake and the Dragon Killer is yours. So as soon as we get somebody up, okay, I'll mention it again later. Meantime, I keep forgetting, and hopefully I won't forget at the end, but I did want to say T-shirt of the week. This is the last day. You can get it at $5 off. This is the quote from Benjamin Netanyahu that said, if the Arabs
put down their weapons today, there would be no more violence.
No more violence.
If the Jews put down their weapons today, there would be no more Israel.
No more Israel. Yeah. BB, yes. That's his nickname, huh? Bibi. Yeah. Did you know the nickname for David is Doo-Doo?
Oh, yeah, Doo-Doo Fisher.
We had Doo-Doo Fisher on our show. One time at Christmas, we had a Jewish man.
Yes.
Only on the Kevin Shorey show.
Right.
many, many moons ago. So it's a great day today. It's a great day to serve the Lord, and it's a great day. I'm going to be sharing on giving, properly giving. I just want to do a little thing on, and I'm not taking an offering or anything, but, well, always. But it's not about that. I thought maybe you should have some guidelines on knowing what to give, when to give, how much to give, what does God say about it all. And so we're going to give you a little Giving 101 today, later on today in our devotion time, but we're going to hit some news. Are you ready for some news?
Let's do it, man.
The AM Kevin Show. I saw a thing that brought tears to my eyes this morning. Yes. In the French Open. Did you see this? Now, I don't know the guy's name. I meant to write it down, forgot. I know the first name of one of the guy, Nico is one of them, Nico somebody, and the other guy is named Dadabadabada. Anyway, I think they're both from Hispanic origin, from countries like in those wherever. At the French Open, the guy had knee surgery, and he thought he was strong enough to go into the French Open and play. This Nico, whatever his name is, and he goes to play the other guy who's really a good tennis, like a star. He's in the top, whatever. And in the middle of the match, the Nico guy just stops. You see the bandage on his knee, he stops, and he can't move. And he puts his head down, and he's just standing there, and everybody's just holding their breath because this is the middle of a set, and he just stops. And the other guy, the superstar guy, jumps over the net to him and says, "Are you okay?" And the guy collapses and falls on the ground, and he's weeping, just crying because he knows it's over. He can't. He had a chance, and he may have even been ahead. I don't know. I forget the score. But he's on the ground and he's crying, and this guy consoles him. He brings him back to his chair. He's packing his stuff for him.
Oh, wow.
And I'm just like starting to cry.
That's really cool.
This is total kindness. This is total be kind to one another 101. The Bible says for us to, and I don't know if they're Christians or not, but sometimes I see more kindness in non-Christians. Sometimes, not always.
They probably are.
And it could be. He packs his stuff for him. He makes sure he's okay. This is the whole drama being played out live at the French Open, and I thought that was really cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
See, I haven't been watching because Serena's pregnant, so I don't watch when Serena's not in there.
The whole world is not Serena, okay? There are other people. There's Nadal and Federer and all these other guys. Federer and all that.
They're not pretty.
But tennis isn't just about pretty. As a matter of fact, that's probably the least pretty sport because they all groan like this. Is they're hitting, that's all you hear. It just that bugs me, but they have to do it, I suppose. But I thought that was just
that's pretty cool.
Remind me of Glenn Campbell today. Shout out to Glenn. I saw one of his very last concerts. He came to Branson. It's at your grandpa's theater. He came, and. He one of his songs that just thought this is like a Christian theme song. I used to sing it actually on Jim Baker's show because Jim thought the same thing. Jim and I went together actually to the concert, and it was one of his hits. Won't you try a little kindness, overlook the blindness, and it speaks to what we should all be if more people were kind to one another, especially those who belong to the body of Christ, I think there'll probably be more converts in our churches. Somebody say amen.
Amen.
Anyway, so, okay, let's go into some other news. There seems to be a rise in the profit and popularity of eco documentaries. I mean, people are into animals more and the ecosystem.
Disney's doing a lot of them.
Yeah, and taking care of our environment, which I think all of God's children should do that.
You do?
I do,
Oh,
even though
okay.
you don't agree with some of the things that I believe we can still do, pipelines and stuff, and still try to take care of the environment and take care of ourselves. I mean, on one hand, we take care of the environment. You got to also realize that the environment creation was made for us. And so if
Not
there
to-
is a
No, not to use like that as our own little.
yes.
No, Kevin, that's crazy.
Okay, well, let's agree to disagree. Okay.
So God gave Adam and Eve the Garden of Eden, and He said, just do whatever you want with it. Make factories, build big old smokestacks. That's what He decided?
Well, and I'm not on for the smokestacks, but yeah, we do.
Oh, okay.
I mean, the smokestacks have regulations they have to abide by, I
Okay.
hope. Okay, which leads me to all this outcry, which seems to be false humility. That's a lot. People are like, oh, it's going to destroy everything. And okay. So here's the reality I found out as I researched and
Tell me.
watched more than just Fox News.
Okay.
Okay, because I know you just think that's one-sided, but I think it's fair and balanced. But the Paris Accords,
Yes.
yes, the president and the I don't even want to talk about this because you just snarl at me the whole time. But
It's
listen,
just evil.
no, it's
It
okay.
is.
Okay, let's hold on. Let's
All
just
right, fine.
let's just talk about not whether there's climate change and global warming or not. Let's not go there. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Because I hope there's not. I don't want there to be,
Hope there's
but I don't think there is. Okay, but that's my opinion. He thinks there is. I think
No,
there is.
I don't
So we're
think
perfect balance.
I just listened to other scientists, but okay.
Yeah, liberal scientists here, also believe that we came from apes, right? From the goo to the zoo to you. But it's not true. But not true. Not true, false, fake news. So specifically, these Paris Treaty thingies supposed to be about the climate change and stuff. Here's one side of it why I believe that the president decided not to go with this, because I'm not sure if he thinks it's all false and fake, the whole climate change thing.
He said it was a conspiracy made up by China.
Right, but I've also heard what he says that we need to take care of the environment. See, I'm with the president on this, exactly. He believes that there is steps we should take to do something about pollution and all that, whatever. So, bad emissions, the whole thing. But, by the way, cows make more emissions than cars. But anyway, so you're going to
Yeah,
kill
they-
all the cows, right?
No.
Yeah, okay. But it's not whether, I'm not going to go there, okay,
Okay.
whether it's there or not. But this treaty, this thing was on the back of the United States. Number one, we paid the most money. Nobody really chipped in a lot of money. First, I saw the stats, and we were like 90% of the what would fund this whole thing to help whatever was on the U.S., which is good if all of this was true, but it shouldn't be. He's saying, Trump said this, and this was made me look it up, that this is just a bad deal right now, that he's not opposed to making some sort of deal with the nations, because they're all crying out, all the nations, why aren't you doing? It's because we don't want to just throw money your way for you to do whatever you want with it, saying that you're going to help the environment. He thinks it's a front for people to be making money, and so
Who makes money?
well, it would come out of our budget, the national budget, to go to these countries to help with their pollution problems. Well, they should be taking care of themselves. He
Well, we're
compares it to
second.
the Iran deal that Obama did, which is totally ridiculous.
So can I just ask one question? How much should the Earth cost?
No. I'm just saying, but we need to be wise as well when we're spending money. you
Here's
know?
the deal. So for
Well,
years.
but that's not the only
Okay,
thing now.
all right.
The other thing is that it really didn't put into place anything that would really change anything, the status quo, the way it is now. None of the stuff now, and I got this not from what Trump and his policymakers said, but some others that were part of the committee was on TV today well, maybe it was Fox News, but they were on there saying that I saw it again just this morning, that none of this changed anything. It was just a political move by Obama, who met, because he originated this accord. And I thought he said a nice statesman-like thing, and it was totally negative about what the president's decision, but it also said that I pray that somebody, not I pray, but because I don't know if he prays, but I believe in the faith of the people that something will be done eventually, and so I thought that was a good statement for an ex-president. So I'm just saying, if it didn't change anything and it cost us everything, then it's probably not a good deal. Maybe look that up first.
No, okay,
Because
can I
it's
just
not
say
whether
this?
there's global warming or not.
Can I just say
saying
this? Okay.
Bad deals are bad deals, period.
Okay, for years, people would say, my friends who are more kind of, they obviously believe with me, but they're also more kind of have a gloom view of the future, don't believe our politics can help or do anything. So for years, my buddies, when we would talk about this, they would say, it doesn't matter what we do because China and India, they're huge pollutants too, and if they don't come to the table, nothing's going to change. Now we got a accord where every country came to the table.
They came to the table
Every
and said,
country
now pay
agreed.
for our changes.
We're the second
not
highest
right.
in emissions, Kevin. So we should
But
pay a
we
lot.
we
How much should the earth cost?
pay for them to make their
So
changes.
does,
Why
so
don't
does
they pay for
pollution not
themselves?
happen? I don't understand your position.
Yeah, pollution happens.
Okay.
But is it changing our environment and changing
Yeah, the
the
scientists say
ozone
it
layer?
is.
No, liberal scientists say it is.
No, we've had the hottest years on record in the last 10
The
years.
cycle of the earth. I did not want to go through the debate of whether there was. I'm just
You
saying.
brought it up.
I agree. No, only I agree with this treaty that it is wrong if we're paying the bill for them to make changes that they need to pay for themselves.
So we
China
should
has billions of dollars.
So we should buy a bunch of tanks and just put them in warehouses. That's what we should spend money on. Stupid. The earth is dying.
What did that have to do with environment?
Because that's what we spend most of our money on,
On
is our
defense,
military.
protecting
No, not
our-
defense. Buying tanks and putting them in warehouses that we don't
Because
even
if
need.
we need them, you never know. Speaking of those same people, the same people that want our money also could invade us at any point.
Yeah,
they're-
storm
they're
the
so
beaches of North Carolina.
That's right, because they're untrustworthy. I don't trust Putin, and I definitely don't trust Ying Yang Qingyang, whatever his name is.
Mm.
Who's the prime minister of? It's a Ying and a
Of
Pong
China?
and a, yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, it's
They have-
Yang Wang. What?
They're
I'm not trying to be disrespectful.
They're not
I
led
don't-
by really a single person. They're led by more of like a committee type of thing.
Yes, a communist regime of
Uh-huh.
people that decide at any point, like
Mhm.
North Korea, we hate everybody, we're going to send up missiles.
Mhm.
But anyway, well, I just pray for God's wisdom in all this, and I do believe there should be regulations on this. Maybe more, maybe, but in different areas where some of it has been just political maneuvering to make themselves look good. And I think this Paris thing was that. When you look at it all,
Trees and mountains and beauty.
no, but it
and-
wasn't about that. It didn't make any changes. It just was throwing money at the people that should be making changes themselves. Doesn't that make sense to you?
So you think that we
say
give
that that's
money
the
to those
truth.
countries?
Well, no, say that I'm telling you the truth. That all that money was going to them for changes that they should have made, and we shouldn't have to
That's
fund.
not what it is.
Well, that's what they're saying it was.
so we're just, I don't understand what you're saying. Why would we be
If that's the
giving
premise,
money
should
to
we
other
do that?
countries? It's like putting money in a
Exactly.
pool.
Why should we be?
It's like putting money in a pool to combat global
Well,
climate
we
change.
paid 90% of the pool. There's
We
no
have the
equal-
second most emissions.
Well, I think we're taking care of it pretty
Oh,
well.
we are?
Yeah.
Okay.
Comparatively to these countries, yes. Have you ever been? Well, no, you haven't. Let me tell you.
No.
Just to smell the smog, the stuff, because they have no inspection or emissions control like on their vehicles, like we do.
Yeah.
Horrible.
So they finally came to the table to change that.
Yeah. They came to the table to make money. And will they make the changes? How do we know? I don't know. I think if we're holding out for a better deal, that's cool.
And also pretty much every other country said the deal is non-renegotiable.
I know, because they're losing money.
No.
They were going to pocket money on this, dude. Really, the French are in charge of this whole deal. Need I say any more? Moving right along but I am happy that there's more documentaries about this stuff to educate
No, you're
people.
not. You don't
Yes, I
care about
am.
the earth. Quit saying that.
I just want the truth out. I'm all about truth, not fake. Why do we do this? You know, he makes he's always making he has the most gestures of any president I can ever remember. I mean, I always know Nixon did a lot. And, Bill Clinton always did this. But
Bush had a hand thing. Bush also kind
yeah. Yeah, and his father kind of did too. But he would come
of. Obama just weird pauses. Look. Thing about it is look.
It looked like he always talked like there was something in his throat. He just had to always clear. Look. Whatever. Anyway, here's something sad.
Okay.
Major restaurants around the country, especially in the East Coast right now, the cooks are disappearing. I thought that's sad. And they said the number one reason is because they're too stressed. The chefs are yelling at them all the time, and they're just yelling and trying to get, because they took their, the Gordon Ramsay kind of guy, with the, throwing out those cuss words and stuff. They're like, just no. So
No, that's the culture of the chefs. Yeah.
So to remedy this, some of the New York restaurants especially are hiring companies to have moments of yoga and meditation in their restaurants.
Interesting.
I know. I don't want the cooks to disappear, but just sitting back going, hey, maybe Trump meditates. Maybe that's where he has. I don't know. Yeah, I don't think that's going to solve anything. I think it has to go to the source. Just like,
Yeah, that's
if there's
interesting.
a problem,
I never heard about that.
go to the source.
But my cousin Ben, he used to always be a chef. He'd say he'd get in arguments with people in the kitchen. So
There's stress involved in restaurants.
Yeah.
It's probably the lowest paying off, unless you're one of those high class restaurants. But you work the hardest for the less money there, kind of like teaching or farming. That's my two. I'll never stop saying that teachers and farmers need to have more money. But I left my phone on. Hey, I was going to one that connected with that, but before I do, I saw a man come in with the Rams shirt on, Rams Titans. So I don't know if he's from St. Louis or Tennessee. He looks, if I were to guess, he is
that's from the Super Bowl where we lost by 1 yard, Kevin.
Yes, you did.
Stretched out.
I would say, though, he's not a Tennessean. I'd say he's a Missourian. St. Louis? Yeah. Well, we have a segment that we do every day, and it's called the Greedy Corporation or the Greedy Person of the Day. Well, there's a guy by the name of
Stan Kroenke.
Kroenke, who is the greedy meister of the day today, who stole the St. Louis Rams and brought them over to California, which is really upsetting to all of us because, I was just saving up enough money to go to a Rams game, to go see, my brother got to go see Rams play Cowboys one time.
Oh, yes.
And I never got to
And
go.
they don't
I
hardly
was
play the
bitter.
Chiefs because they're in a different conference, because the Rams were in the NFC, so they would have played the Cowboys more. So
Yeah, but now.
yeah, I know.
They're the Los Angeles Rams.
Los Angeles Rams.
And it's all, I guess, it's all because of this guy. And I don't know what I saw that brought, things stuck out me like the chefs are dying and, the cooks are disappearing in the restaurants. But somebody needs to disappear. His name is Stan, because he has other corporations. He has other ball teams. And you probably know all the others. And I didn't want to write it all down because I don't want to give him any credence, although to say that we are praying that St. Louis will get a team.
Yeah, one day they might get a team. There was an incredible stadium project, Kevin, that they had proposed to try to keep the Rams in St. Louis, and it was on the river. I mean, it really looked beautiful what they had proposed.
But I did see pictures of the stadium he's proposing in Los Angeles.
It's going to be cool. Yeah, the new ones are going to be cool.
80,000 seats?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's not 102,000 like Tennessee has, but 80,000 is good.
Oh, we didn't play our theme song for the greed of the day.
Oh, no, we didn't.
But Stan, you are not the man. You're a thief. And we just wanted to shout out that and say that for you, it's all about hit it, April. No loyalty. no dedication.
Yes.
And all those that made that deal in St. Louis.
So, are you still going to root for him? Are you going to root for the Chiefs or what? Nobody.
He's done. Well, let me recommend who's going to win this year.
Okay.
Cowboys.
All
Go
right.
Cowboys. They got a chance. He nodded his head. See, this is a smart man.
He's smart,
I knew when he walked in.
Yeah.
And I knew he was, no offense, that he was not from Tennessee. Thanks for coming by.
Kevin, they were the greatest show on turf. That's what they called them. They were this incredible offense. They and what we did was so amazing in that Super Bowl when they were beating us. But it wasn't a blowout. It was like 14-0, something like that. They were playing pretty good. And instead of trying to pass and try to almost match their game, we played our game because the Titans were big. They were brute, and we kept running the ball, and we almost did get it tied. And they threw the long touchdown to Isaac Bruce right before that.
Yeah.
And we were so close, man. Steve McNair scrambling around, throws it. Dyson reaches out and just 1 yard short. The closest game in NFL history. It was a yard.
Yeah. Were you guys there? Did you go to this? Oh. You just got the T-shirt.
Mom was in Vegas, Kevin, watching it at one of
Really?
the sports books, with that huge TVs,
Oh,
100
yeah, I've
inch,
seen 'em, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never,
You're right.
but I've seen them. Yeah, no, that's awesome.
It was cool.
Yeah, and by the way, your sports program will be on today.
Yeah.
April, I asked Mark again, the Dixie Fieldhouse program on our network, on WGAN, on Roku. The Dixie Fieldhouse sports deal is on after our program, I think, and then again at night after our program.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, if it's at 2:30 or 3, and if it's not 2:30, then it's 3, and if it's not 7:30, it's 8. So I just wanted to let everybody know so we can advertise. And you're taping today. We're taping. Who's your guest today? What you?
Well, I'm going to interview Bryden. So that's going to be the interview
Oh,
that's going to be
from-
put in today. Yeah, he's going to be, when he
Bryden
comes
Brett?
on next week, I'm going to get an interview with him and throw it on there. So
Yes.
he was actually played college basketball.
Oh.
So, yeah, they're
He's a good guy.
good guy, really
I didn't
good.
realize what a good Christian guy he
Yeah,
was.
he was
I
one of the
should've-
first people met with me when I was running for mayor, and he's a good
Aw.
guy.
And the
Yeah.
Brett family had a great show that's coming out this fall
Absolutely.
in Branson, and their youth band called Prince Ivan is going to be
Yes.
on our show
That's gonna be
next
awesome.
week. Yeah.
And Kevin, I should say, since to our comment section, Ron Page, he was very much in agreement with you on the whole climate change issues. So.
Well, most are, Marshall.
oh, they are.
And I
Okay.
think most scientists, but they haven't come out
Oh,
of the,
really?
the closet yet.
97% of scientists.
No, it's not. That is
Ah.
such a liberal lie.
Okay.
It is not fake news. Fake news.
Do you know what fake news is?
These folks might want something there, Miss Casey. Maybe you should help them out. What?
Do you know what fake news is?
Yes.
What is fake
CNN,
news?
MSNBC,
Wrong.
NBC, CBS,
Wrong.
ABC. No.
Fake news was an actual phenomenon on Facebook and social media where people would literally just
Yeah.
fabricate a
know.
story. And so what happened was our president decides to take that term and decides to start describing our news organizations
Yeah.
as fake news. That's not what fake news was. That's
was,
not.
but it's become that.
Oh.
There's a lot of fake.
I see.
I remember the time when Wikipedia first came out. They were just fabricating, just
Well, but
facts.
Wikipedia is just
But
a
now they don't. There was
user-generated
some
thing.
regulation they had to change and make sure it was factual.
Well, the only regulation is that people go on and make sure if something's wrong, they change it.
Yeah. Most of the internet, I'd say a good, let's say 70%
So,
is fake news.
well, like,
A lot of the stuff on the internet.
so
is
like the Wall
just-
Street Journal, is that fake?
Well, I don't know. I don't think so.
Oh.
Not that anybody has ever said something that was wrong. But when you say it wrong on purpose, knowing that to me is real fake news. So I'm not always saying, I was exaggerating when I said all those networks, because actually CNN did something very smart.
What they do?
Yes. The Communist News Network put out, just kidding, that's just quoting. CNN fired Kathy Griffin from she will not be able to do the New Year's Eve parties and all that just for the thing. And I think that's pretty cool. Because
People
it was overboard. It was, and
Yeah,
she
but we-
apologized, so I'm not going to judge her. I'm not going to say anything because she did apologize. And
You know what though? People are giving her publicity. We need to stop giving her, stop talking about her. She's
well, she
dumb.
put it out on social media, right?
I know. Now
So-
they get to play her apology, and now she's hired some lawyer, and it's
Oh,
they're
has she?
giving her publicity
well,
about it.
because any threats to the president, they have to consider serious at first.
Yeah,
And so,
yeah.
she has to get a lawyer.
Yeah.
But she did apologize, so, we're moving on. Anyway, I was going to say when we came out of the thing about cooks disappearing, that there's a new cook that has appeared, and I think this is a great template in the news. John Rivers is his name. He's a former healthcare professional who made a lot of money in healthcare, and found out that somebody in his church found out that a kindergartner girl had a
Uh-huh.
brain tumor.
Ooh.
And then the family didn't have the money to try to treat this or do what was supposed to. So he started a barbecue ministry. I loved that. And what he loved barbecue. He'd watch all the barbecue shows, and you learn from Paula Deen or Emerald Lagasse,
Uh-huh.
all those different things. And perfected his barbecue sauce. And he did a fundraiser and out of his garage. And he thought, why don't I help people as a, God has blessed me with the means to do this. I could, raise money to help. And he did it for this little girl, and he started doing it for others. And I can't remember where he's at now in the country, but somewhere in a church, from a church in America, a lay person, not even a pastor, just a former healthcare professional, decided, I'm going to start a barbecue ministry.
That's cool.
Now he not only has barbecue restaurants,
Uh-huh.
but when he started, before he bought a building and did the barbecue foundation stuff out of that, he had served over 40,000 people out of his garage.
Wow. That's cool.
With barbecue. And I'm just saying, when God gives you something like that, man, nice to meet y'all. Bless you.
See you guys.
And-
you guys
and-
should become Titans fans now, by the way. Yeah.
Or Cowboys. Titans, Cowboys. Pray about
See
it.
y'all.
And so the moral of this story is that John Rivers not only is a hero to help people with the talent God gave him to make good barbecue.
Uh-huh.
You know, everybody has a talent. Everybody God's given something that they
Yeah.
can do. Use it for His glory, like you do with sports.
Right.
You know, you're using it for God's glory.
Exactly. And I always think that, because you talk about it, there's God made evangelists, God made pastors, God made all these different things. And, we need more than just churches, and we need more than just on Sundays. We need things that are weekly, that are organizations for the Lord,
People
that are
being
all
a
these different
witness
things.
all the time. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I met with some people who shared that same vision that we have about going into the marketplace, going into where the hot spots of the world
Yeah.
are. And they really want to help us in that area.
Absolutely.
So, oh, Lord willing, the devil don't hinder. We'll be able to be more than just a TV program. What I want to be is a media, I'm still trying to define the words, but
Right.
just because it's never been done before, I
Yeah.
don't think. I wonder where all the TV preachers are, because they have some visibility more than I do.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not judging them. They got to do what they're called to do. But I really feel that I'm called to not only just have a television program, to bring awareness to the world that Christians do care.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have this thing that I see all the time on TV or media, that Christians are judgmental and religious and legalistic and critical and cynical, all this stuff. And maybe there's some that are that way. They get that idea because conservative Christian political people, become a poster child for the way the church is, and they're really not. People like, and I love these people, but Bill O'Reilly, Rush Limbaugh, Sean Hannity, as Christian people as they may be, and as right as they may be sometimes about politics, kind of do it mean-spiritedly, and so you get that taste that, well, if you're a Christian, you're just mean. Right? That's how
Yeah.
it's evolved anyway, and it may not be their heart, so I'm not judging them, but Christians are more than politics. That's such a small thing of what we're even supposed to be. The salt of the earth means that we infect every
Yeah.
area of life, and we show the love of Christ, not just the tough, this is our stance and this is what we believe. And I believe we should be that way, but you got to do it in love. It's the way I used to, beat my children. Just kidding. Anytime they were punished, I did it with love, not out of hatred or anger. I would do it out of love, and it's the same way. And so all that to say that I think that God has called us, and that I think I have some folks that will help us. Every dollar that you will send will help us as well, but it will help us to be what I think God has called us to be.
Yeah.
And that is to go. I would like to be in England right now with you and me, and doing this morning show live, and then taping our show, our regular shows, and doing that. Because that is our heart, and I think you feel the same way, and I think most of our staff feels that that's one of our callings, and that's our next step. And that starts getting in the works, and other maybe even follow that, And I'm not trying to be critical of other, but there's other so-called preachers that have done it, but they have this political agenda, and they want to see those things done. And I don't even want to say their name, because then I'd sound like I'm judging them, but because they have to answer to God. But I think you know who I'm talking about. They're always there for, especially when it's African American rights, they're always there. And good, they need to do that. But I think we need to do in love, show what we're doing, to really put a spotlight even more on what Franklin Graham does. Because anytime Franklin Graham says something about America and people think that it's negative, that blasts all over the media. Franklin Graham thinks that God is judging America, whatever, and he probably is. God is. But that's probably not all he said, and I believe, and I know for a fact that's not all he does. Franklin Graham brings love to the world with Samaritan's Purse. At Christmas time, the shoebox alone bring goods to children all over the world. And then there's Convoy of Hope. I want to throw a spotlight on those and these outreaches that are really doing people. There are people that are digging wells and cultivating crops for those less fortunate countries. Right?
Absolutely.
I am on my soapbox on this because this is what burns in my heart. And that's where we're going to go. And we may have somebody that's going to help us in that area. So praise God for that. But all of us together help. It's not ever going to be ever one person. God convicted me of that a while back. They'll never trust on one person, but on God's family together. Well, did anybody say who the 18th president was?
No, nobody said.
Nobody. Everybody's chicken.
Somebody said Hillary. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, 18th. Well, yeah, no, you can't Google it. That's the rule. So nobody wins the free book for this time. Well, I guess we'll try to find another way to win it, but maybe on the other show. It's now time for our historical moment, and this is my favorite part of the historical moment out, the One Direction song. Now, ladies and gentlemen, your historical moment with Marshall Howden. Well, maybe not.
You and me got a whole lot of history. We could be the greatest team that the world has ever seen. You and me got a whole lot of history.
I think that's almost like our ministry theme song now, if you think about it.
Yeah.
You and me, all of us together, and our family of friends, we're going to make a whole lot of history. Mm-hmm. Oh, preach, Kevin. Oh, go ahead.
So
Mark.
we got a guess for Jefferson. We got a guess for Franklin. It's not. It's
on
Ulysses
the $50 bill. I even gave
S.
that away.
Grant.
Ulysses Simpson.
Simpson Grant.
Yes. I think
Hiram
that was
Simpson Grant was his.
Was his
or
what?
Hiram Ulysses Grant was his birth
The S
name.
came from because they thought they gave nicknames in the
yeah,
Civil War,
it was
right?
his grandma's. I can't remember all that. I always get confused between him and Harry S. Truman. Which one?
Harry
was,
S did not have a name.
Yeah, something
S
like
was
it was
just
just
S.
S. Yeah, yeah. So
And I bet that meant something else.
right. So yeah. Whatever that meant.
So
yeah.
before he was the big general and the president and smoking the cigars, he was from where and what happened? How did
All
he?
right.
What was
Well,
his story?
he was but in Ohio, but
see.
he was from Illinois, and
Okay.
we'll get to the reason why him and Lincoln were both from Illinois here in a second.
Okay. Yeah,
he-
because Lincoln was born in Kentucky.
Right. So he was 1869 to 1877 Republican. His two vice presidents were named Schuyler Colfax and Henry Wilson. So he was
Two
really,
terms then. Yeah.
Yep, he had two terms. He was the first three-star general since Washington. They actually made a four-star general for U.S. Grant, and and basically we had a saying. They said, "It is my earnest endeavor not to disappoint your expectations." And he was speaking to America. He was speaking to Lincoln and different things like that. And
I'm sorry, I saw your mom on there. And I
oh,
was
she's not saying. She just said some.
shocking.
Yeah, she's making jokes. But anyway.
You funny, Connie.
So he was sent to West Point as a child. He was a
Yes.
West Point grad.
West Point.
And then went to be stationed in St. Louis, which is really cool. He still has actually a house there.
Really?
Yeah.
Let's
So
go.
Let's do it, man. Absolutely.
Do a whole show from his house.
That'd be
or
so
something.
cool.
But
Yeah.
now he went to West Point with, if I'm not mistaken, Robert E. Lee and
I think so, yeah.
they all went together.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So his first commander was Zachary Taylor. It's very interesting. Kind
Oh.
of ties all in
Was
together.
he in the Spanish-American War then, or?
I don't
I'm
think
not
that he
solid
actually
as well.
served in the war. I'd have to look that up. I had to be more specific on that. But,
But
yeah.
he served with Zachary Taylor.
Yeah, under him, but whether it was wartime or not, I'm not
Oh, okay.
positive. But so basically, here's the reason that him and Lincoln were both from Illinois. That Congressman Washburn of Illinois, who was kind of Lincoln's friend, wanted a brigadier general from his district that would be influential with Lincoln to run for president, basically.
Ah.
So it was kind of like one of those things,
So he never ever lived in Illinois.
No, he did. He was from there, but this other congressman knew that U.S. Grant would be a good choice to kind of put forth and kind of suggest to Lincoln in a sense, So they were kind of put together through fate and different things. But
Yeah, but McClellan was the first guy that Lincoln used
he
when
sure
the war
was.
broke out, right?
That's right. We'll get yeah.
So what did he do with Grant then?
Well, so his first commanding post was where the Ohio River flows into the Mississippi at Cairo, Illinois, which we always see. And it's that building that's always closed and don't know what it is. You can never go in there. It looks like a bathroom. I didn't know what it was since I was a little kid.
That was
but-
Grant's post?
Yeah, that was his. But
We need to find that.
Fort Defiance is what it's called.
Oh, that place.
Yeah. Right there.
Really?
Yeah, that's
See,
what
'cause
that was.
they never let us in.
No.
The thing's always closed up.
Yeah.
I've been there morning, noon, and night. It
Mm-hmm.
is a museum that nobody gets to see.
And the mounds in Wycliffe,
No,
they're always closed too. We've tried to go to those.
Yeah,
a bunch
every
of
time.
times.
Yeah. And when it is open, we're on the way.
Right,
We can't
right.
stop. Yeah.
So, so he seized Paducah, which is so interesting because this is another route that we go to, and that's when he became a national hero basically. And he rose to hero status just as much as someone since Jackson had done. Jackson became a hero of New Orleans, became a national hero. That's the exact same thing that Ulysses S. Grant did, basically. And so then after going to Paducah, then he went on to seize Fort Donelson, which is basically Nashville. Then made his way down the Tennessee River to Shiloh, and then led all the troops into West Tennessee. At this point, Lincoln doesn't fully trust Grant until his victory at Vicksburg. And he is given command of all forces west of the Appalachians, essentially.
Yeah.
General Rosecrans was the kind of the major general at this point, because I think McClellan had already been knocked out of there.
Yeah, he wouldn't do anything. Well, who was then stymied at Vicksburg? Wasn't it? I thought it was McClellan.
I think it was McClellan. Yeah. And
that's
Grant
when he-
kind of took over. Yeah. And
They sat there. We're talking not months, but like years.
Right.
They just sat there, and McClellan didn't want to make any decisions.
right. Yes.
Dear Lord. Finally, Lincoln had enough with him. He didn't like McClellan anyway. He did it
Yep.
for political reasons.
Yeah.
The stuff I've read, but
Right.
yeah.
So General Rosecrans and the Federals, they lose the Battle of Chickamauga. So Grant goes to Chattanooga, wins that battle, and takes control of the entire army. That
Yeah,
was when he
finally,
really,
yeah. And really, if that move hadn't have been made, I mean, the war would have went even longer.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So then after that, he then heads to Washington to prepare for the ultimate showdown, the only time he met, not the only time, but the very first time he met Robert E. Lee one-on-one in battle. And it was essentially a tie. Now, Grant lost more forces at the time, but it was essentially a tie between those two.
Wow.
So Lee knew that they would lose if they faced the North in tactics of siege warfare. And after months of chasing them through Virginia in a 10-month campaign around Petersburg, Lee retreats to try to meet up with some of their forces in North Carolina. And all of Grant's men cut them off at Appomattox Courthouse. And that is the surrender of the war.
That's it,
And that's
Appomattox.
Absolutely. You
Yeah.
know.
Been there, quite a place. It still feels very. I don't know what the word is. I mean, just you feel the weight, the weightiness of war and what happened there, and then the peace thing is there, but not really. I mean, you still feel more of the weight of the world there than you do. And Lee. Do you think? And we should probably do a Robert E. Lee thing.
We could do Robert E. Lee.
Some people are just being so ridiculous about Robert E. Lee.
Robert E. Lee
lately.
was apparently an
think we should-
abolitionist and a good guy.
That's what I was going to say. The word was that he didn't want secession. He was for a union. As a matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, I saw was it the Steven Spielberg movie? I'm not sure. One of the movies, maybe it was Gods and Generals. Lincoln had asked Robert E. Lee to take the Union forces first.
Yeah, he almost
because he
took it
trusted
too,
Lee,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
and he knew when Lee became an enemy that it was going to be a tough deal.
Lee was the best general of the war. I mean,
Yeah.
Grant was great, but Lee, at the end of the day, was, if he had the forces, he might have, because what happened was like in this where we're saying it was almost a tie, but Grant lost more troops. Well, Grant was able to replenish his troops. Lee wasn't. That's the difference, So
Yeah, he had limited resources for the whole thing,
Yeah.
or they, things had turned out a lot different. And I'd like to know, because I'd like to know where did Robert E. Lee go after the war. I'm not sure I even know all that.
Well, we can
we
should
start
have
that
a whole
next week?
weekend, so we can do that on Monday for sure. It'll be fun.
Or Tuesday, yeah.
Yeah, Tuesday. So this was the first. So when Grant ran for president, it was the first election where all black men had the right to vote, and he got they said 99% of it.
No, of course he
to a
did,
man.
yeah. And he won twice.
Yeah,
Yes.
because they believed that was such a big part of their emancipation, and during Grant's tenure, he did a lot for promoting African Americans to be in Senate and different things like that.
Wow.
And for their rights, but we'll get into it. They
'Cause after
describe
the Andrew Johnson thing, man, anybody could have been a hero. Really.
Right.
But,
And so it's interesting kind of how Johnson led us into this point, because they say the KKK was essentially the terrorist wing of the Democratic Party. So Grant launched a war on terror essentially, and he crushed the KKK for the time. He held them back from being in the courthouses and different stuff like that.
cool.
The problem is what we ran into is that Johnson, like we said, was disillusioned with Reconstruction.
Reconstruction,
And
yeah.
Johnson basically said, we're not going to do this anymore. So you think, okay, well, that's just one president. We can move on and we can change things. The problem is that even though Grant wanted to go back to Reconstruction, Johnson had kind of influenced the people at this point. So the American people were tired of it. They were like, no,
Yeah.
we've done that war. The South lost.
Well,
You know.
And then how to do it? You know, are we going to hand out to the South,
Right,
even though
right.
they caused us all the loss of our own boys?
Yeah.
Are we going to then forgive them and pay off, or are we going to make any rules for them, or how you know, that is a whole lot of reconstructing.
Right,
It,
right.
it wasn't just simple with one or two
No, it
laws.
was not simple, and it would have. And the main point about why it wasn't simple is it would have probably taken generations, and we cut it off after 2 weeks or something. You know,
Mhm. Yeah,
Johnson
Johnson
just
did,
decided to, you know.
So Grant was handed a whole bunch.
He really was, and at the end of the day, he had some struggles in his presidency. You know, because we ended one war, and then the Indians started coming back and started fighting us and challenging us.
Right.
You know, and in fact, Custer's last stand was there, where Custer was defeated, which
So that's
usually
grieving.
the Indians were defeated in these battles, but you know, this a major.
Well, Custer was just an idiot.
Yeah, major. You know, so it ended up being a major defeat, kind of like you're saying, you know,
Yeah.
for our people, you know, and so it was a tough couple terms for Grant because of what we were going through at this time. Also, you know, Johnson had created a sort of a scenario where Congress was a little bit more distrustful of a president, especially. I mean, you know, we look at Grant as an ally of Lincoln, so people would think, oh, that's great. But also Johnson was an ally of Lincoln in a sense because he was his vice president.
Right.
You know, so it's not like they reviewed that much differently in a sense of
Right.
one's against Lincoln and one's for Lincoln because
Yeah.
obviously Lincoln was sort of the hero at this time.
But it is probably true that he had the motivational momentum of winning such a large vote, being such a popular character and stuff. So he probably started out with, you know, but when the honeymoon was over,
yeah,
is where we're at this point.
And it
right?
looks and looking back on his presidency, especially some of the things, the advances we made, like in civil rights,
And the railroad.
and the railroads.
Didn't he
yeah,
have the
Yeah, I
the
believe he did
dedication
lay
of the
the
final railroad across the United States?
Transcontinental Railroad,
Uh-huh.
and so yeah, like I said, I think people are looking back at
And he
him
started the Secret Service with James West from Wild Wild West.
Yeah, that's right. Yep. Professor Loveless.
Love that. Yeah. Oh, that's
So-
your version. Yeah, I'm the old TV show.
Oh
is
yeah,
still my
I've
favorite.
never seen the old TV show. Yeah.
Oh, it's great. It's one of my favorite shows as a kid, man. It had James Bond meets with the West.
Right.
Just how can you beat that? Genius, whoever created that,
Genius.
and put it in history. So you
Yes.
got the Anyway,
So cool.
it's not real.
Yeah.
But you know, the Secret Service though was started after Lincoln, though, wasn't it? Do you
Yeah,
know
the day he
history?
was shot. Really, I mean, it
Yeah.
it did exist as like a essentially they were
there was
the
guards.
They
Yeah.
were guards, and then they became, you know, the ones who looked after counterfeit money.
Right.
And there still actually is a branch of the Secret Service that is under the Treasury and still does watch for
Okay.
counterfeit money.
Oh, I didn't know that.
But that was the very first reason that was started. And so, but then it kind of became, especially then we had Garfield, you know, and different.
Yeah.
So,
they definitely
Yeah.
up that after
protection
Garfield. but-
force for our president.
But so Grant, does he finish pretty strong, or
Yeah, finished strong, and then kind of
my new album finishing strong?
Yeah, and then yeah, so that's kind of, you know, Grant's legacy, and of course we will always honor Grant for saving the Union, being the general and saving the Union. And
He really did.
you know, I
With the help
didn't
of the
look
Lord,
up
for
about
sure.
the canal. I should have looked up about the canal down there in
We drove
Louisiana.
through, yeah, and I'm probably going by there the next time
Okay.
I go down. Right, if I go down to, there's
can't
going to be
remember.
with JT. What did we go by there for last?
That
time?
was for to go to
Pensacola,
Florida,
but it's
Pensacola.
almost the same. Yeah, the Grant's troops had been. We went by a place where he tried to redirect a whole canal to
The
connect
Mississippi
to the
River.
Mississippi
Yeah,
River.
absolutely.
That's like, and we the distance we drove from the Mississippi to this canal.
Yeah,
Huge. How
Right.
in the world would he?
Right.
But anyway, it was more. I think, kind of, if you read between the lines, it was more of an exercise for the soldiers. Give them something to do while they're waiting for the
could have
next
been
command.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
anyway.
They did something. They dug a big old hole or something. I mean,
Hole, drill a hole or something. Every day.
different coon every day.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
Inside jokes. We should not do inside.
I know, right?
Yeah, it's from the farm in
Yes.
Tennessee. But
so yeah, that's Grant, and we'll
so
do,
he died. Did he do anything after service?
No.
Just retired and
just
yeah.
think at
He's
this
probably
point
old
he
and
was
tired.
He was tired. Yeah,
After a war and
Yeah.
then 2 terms as president.
absolutely.
So none of his vice presidents were Rutherford Hayes, who became the next president. So it'll be interesting to find out how he appears.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, was Grant under the same Republican Party as
Grant was a
Lincoln?
Republican. Yeah,
So Hayes must not have been.
I think Grant Hayes
Or
was
maybe
a
he
Republican,
just-
though.
yeah.
Yeah, but just
There
a
was no
different-
term limit, so Grant could have
Yeah,
gone
there
a
wasn't
third.
term limits. That's
He probably
correct.
just said, no, I'm done.
Right. But a lot of them followed the example of Washington and got out after two. You know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that
All
was
right.
just like everything else. Washington set precedents in the Oval Office.
Is there a reason why Grant's tomb is called Grant's tomb?
I don't
Is
know.
he there?
I
'Cause
don't know.
yeah, there's the Grant's tomb in Washington that they honor. Am I mixing it with the unknown soldier? Maybe somebody could tell me about Grant's tomb and why, if Grant is there or not. I don't know. But he's on the $50 bill forever, and hopefully they won't take him off.
Till we have Sacagawea on the $50 bill or something like
Oh
that.
gosh. Speaking of the dollar bills,
Yes.
the Bible tells us. Jesus said this because it's in red letters in my Bible.
Okay.
I know Jesus said it. It's always
Yeah.
a clue. For whoever has things on this earth, to more will be given, and he will have abundance. But whoever does not have things, even what he has will be taken away from him. Well, that's terrible. Well, what he's saying is that those that feel in their heart they don't have things, because he says your treasures are, in heaven. They're not really should be here. He says, understand what I'm saying. It's about the heart attitude. He says, for the hearts of the people, whatever. And so he's really trying to say that when you think you have something, that you tend to invest that something or do something with that and then make something. He's the one that said, give and it shall be given unto you, and seek and you'll find, and knock. So those that think that they have, I told you about an experiment. I think we talked about this maybe in one of our very first shows, that in Kenya they had and it could have been any country. They went to the poverty section, and they went to the middle class section, and they gave each the same amount of cash money. And those that were poverty, not just because they were poor, but I think it's more than poor. And he says, blessed are those. No, I'm mixing scriptures. But the poor will always be with us. There will always be those who think that they're less than what they really are. So they feel like, I don't have, so they don't invest. In other words, most of the people that were in the poor areas bought liquor and cigarettes and gambled, or did things that would never make them any of the money back. But those that were already a little wealthier were already investing things. And so those that feel that they have something, deserve something, are worth something. It's all really about self-worth as well, and self-esteem. Always do things to make themselves better, are always investing. And I think that also goes in the spirit. The heart of God. What is the heart of God? For God so loved that he gave. And so here's a God who has everything. You're talking about the man, what do you give the man who has everything? What can the man who has everything, what does he do? He gives. And those who have been blessed with something, we give. And God says there's a blessing for those that give. It's better to give than to be always on the receiving end. And I've seen that in the countries I've been to. I've seen the poverty. I've seen those at low income. And a lot of them stay that way because they keep receiving, but they've never learned to give. A farmer will never have a crop unless they give, if they plant a seed. A person will never have a great education unless they give themselves that time. You'll never have a good business unless you put time into that business. You'll never have a great family unless you give to that family. You will not be a blessing to others. You will not have a blessing unless you will be a blessing. Is anybody with me so far? You understand what Jesus is trying to tell us in that one really powerful verse. Those have been given much. He also says in another parable, you have much responsibility. There are those who will take what they have. He gives a parable, a little illustrated story about the person that was given little given much, but he hid it away instead and hoarded it. When the one that of self-worth and knew that there was something he could invest, he sowed that into other people. He did something with it. And the master then blessed him for you who was given little, you responded much. And those sometimes given much respond little. So it's really more than what you're given or how much money you have in your bank. It's an attitude of the heart, and really how you can how you respond every day of your life. I give of myself in ministry every day. I give. I never let an offering plate go by, no matter what church I'm in. I don't give something, even if it's the lint in my belly button. I'm gonna give something. I'm gonna pull it out and throw it in the. It's that giving heart, And I think there should be instruction on how to give, because sometimes we give impulsively and then we blame God. Or, well, the preacher told me if I gave $1,000 that I'd get 10,000 back. But did God tell you? See, and so let me give a little point. I have 5, 6, 7 little quick points.
Okay.
How to give. First of all, give at the level you are now. If you can give that $1,000 and you know it's a little sacrifice, but you know you're able to give that, then do that. But if your level is at 100, now my level has grown over the years because I sowed little, and then God has given me much more. And I believe all income and blessing comes from God. Does everybody believe that? Well, if it comes from God, then every time that you give, and then you get a different level, and you go higher and higher, where, there are times when I can give a $1,000 gift, but you don't give stupidly and frivolously and just, and you say, well, how do I know? Well, point number 2 is wait on God's timing. How do I know when to give? Listen to his voice. Wait on his timing and wait on him to tell you what to give. If you give what man tells you, you can get man's blessing at the most. But if you listen to God's voice, you'll get God's blessing, and that's so much better. I mean, if you give to our ministry, like the monthly giving, we send you a gift every month. But if you do it just because you get that little gift every month, or just because you like me, that's great. Or you believe in our ministry, that's great. But if God has not backed it up and told you that, then you'll just get my blessing. I want you to have more than my blessing. I want you to have God's blessing. So give at the level you are. Wait on God's timing and wait for his voice. Always give your tithe, your first fruits, to your church, to the storehouse first. If you steal that 10% from what belongs to the storehouse, where you say is your home church, then you've stolen from where that belongs and given to another ministry. And I don't think that's a blessing of God. Always make sure your church first. And there's a whole teaching of the teruma, the first fruits, and the tithe. There's 3 different types of giving. But I don't want to get deep into that as much as, I believe in the Hebrew tradition and the way they gave in the Old Testament, but I can barely keep up with the New Testament and trying to do everything we're supposed to do in giving. But the 10%, well, do I give out of the gross or the net? Well, do you want a gross blessing or a net blessing? So that's the whole deal. Give of your tithe first to the church, 10%. Out of the 90% you give to ministries like mine, or missionaries, or wherever charities that you're supposed to give. But it belongs in the storehouse. That's very clear in Malachi chapter 3. Give it level you're at, wait on God's timing and wait for his voice and do what he tells you to do. Always send your tithes to the right place. That's the tithe. I'm popping on my, let me fix that. All right. Also, another blessing that multiplies the gift that you see that you sown is encourage others to do the same. Always, not so much let people see that you're giving, but talk to people about giving. Have you given to this ministry? Are you, encourage people to do that. I believe that multiplies it. Also, don't feel bad about the seed that you sow, even if it's small. Even if it's $1, every dollar counts in the kingdom of God. And so give at the level you're at, but don't celebrate the seed. Don't negate the seed. I gave $10 in the offering. That's the best I could do, but I gave $10. Thank you, Lord. And I know that a blessing is going to come because he blesses exponentially. He believes in multiplication. God believes in more than just addition. So when you give, whatever seed is from your heart, that's what Jesus is saying, from your heart. It all starts from your heart. Then that will be a blessing. Give at the level you are. Always tithe to your church first. Wait on God's timing and his voice. Encourage others to do. Remember, every dollar counts. And then sixthly, is there a word, sixthly? No. Expect challenges when you give. The moment you give doesn't mean everything's going to turn around all right. Some have that miracle happen, but 9 times out of 10 it doesn't. Expect challenges. Expect lies and temptation from Satan. Well, you just gave, just because of this. I don't know. I remember when I first gave a ministry, for the first time, $1,000. The very first time, years ago. I gave it in the church meeting, and I knew it was God. I walked outside of the church, and I go, what in the world did I just do? That was a whole month's rent. I just pretty much just dropped in, and the enemy was trying to attack me and tell me that it was stupid, but I knew it was God's voice. So I said, you know what? I trust God. I put my trust in him, not in the devil, not in the lies, not in my emotions or feelings, but in God's voice. And so sure enough, that seed, within a month later, that's when my great uncle built Mom and I a brand new house. So I never had to pay rent again.
Yeah.
So I sowed rent and got a new house. Yeah, don't be jealous. But, and seventhly, I don't know if that's a word, you can never go wrong in giving into the Lord's work. Align yourself with Him. How do I align myself with God? Know the heart of God. What's the heart of God? For God so loved that He gave. And He gave His best. Here's the God that doesn't have to give anything, but every day He gives us sunshine. Every day He gives us rain. Every day He gives us those flowers, the trees, the birds of the air, the animals that walk the earth. A beautiful environment that we shouldn't muck up. We really shouldn't. And I do believe that, believe it or not. But align yourself with the heart of God. And He didn't just give, He gave His best. He gave His only begotten Son, Jesus. And would you accept Jesus today if you don't know Him? And would you be a giver? Would you be known as a giver, not just a receiver and a taker? That's not a great witness for God. So be a giver today. And I promise you, I'm not going to take an offering. I am going to tell you about some ways you can give today, but that has nothing to do with each other. I just thought maybe we should all be on the same page as Christians when it comes to how to give, why to give, how much to give. And it all comes from, number one, give where level you are. Don't go crazy and go into debt and not provide your family just because you got a plea from a preacher that told you you're supposed to give now. So give at the level you are. And the number one thing is wait on God's timing and His voice. Hear that before you give. Always make sure you're blessing, because He pours out the windows of heaven and pours you out a blessing in the room. You cannot contain it if you give your tithes into the storehouse. That's Malachi 3. So make sure your first fruits go to your church first. Encourage others to give. Expect challenges and temptations from the enemy. Remember, celebrate the seed. Every dollar counts. And align yourself with the heart of God. You can never go wrong. Lord, help us to be givers. You gave to us. So that's why we give our heart to You. But let us also give everything that we are. Everything comes from You. So make sure, Lord, keep our heart in check, that we're always lined up with Your word and do what You tell us to do every day of our life. We'll give You praise. We ask again for the grace and mercy and Your blessing upon America and for the peace of Jerusalem. And we love You in Jesus' name. Amen. We almost got to go, but we do have our family and friends. Thank you. Family and friends members, in case you didn't know, the $34 a month, you get the new print for it's called We Remember. And then we're sending a CD of one of the guests that have been on our program. So we'll pick it and send it to you, and we'll send it to you. We could almost, I better not say that. We don't want to say you can ask for a certain guest because we get messed up. T-shirt of the day. This is the last time you can do it. Until Tuesday, you can do it, actually. But this is the last day I'll wear it because it's starting to, smell of wear. And it's Bibi Netanyahu.
Yes.
That said very clearly that if, the Arabs will throw down their weapons, then there will be no more violence. But if Israel does it, there'll be no more Israel. And so, we really just have to have God's wisdom on all those things. So I think it's definitely a conversation piece and a witness wear. So some people, I don't wear T-shirts. We'll wear it for the witness. Go to the store or something. Be a witness. Go to the mall. It's not going to hurt you. And get one of our wonderful T-shirts from Sun Tees. That's a great company that helps us. Make sure, mark it if you're in the Missouri area or if you're anywhere nearby in the Ozarks. Go to Glad Tidings. We're going to be there June 11th, 10:30 a.m. If you're in Alabama or down in there in the South, Florida, that North Florida area, Alabama, Mississippi, come on down to Cross Point Baptist Church. We'll be there June 18th. And so good things ahead. And we'll be here 2 o'clock with a group we haven't had on the program before. The New Life Singers from Hannibal, Missouri. They'll be here live at 2 o'clock. So watch us then. Until then, we'll see you at 2 o'clock. Until then, we'll keep pointing